camera speed. Now, here is a motion picture film.
Good evening, and welcome to Moviedrome Remastered. Tonight's film is something of a forgotten oddity in the history of television. It is a television film that runs just under an hour, and was first broadcast in 1985 on Channel 4, with funding from HBO. It is a very important film in the development of the cyberpunk genre, the genre that gave us Blade Runner and Akira, which is coming later on in this series, and of course, The Matrix. It was also the television film that gave us the world's first computer-generated television presenter. However, he wasn't computer-generated, and he wasn't just a television presenter. He went on to become an icon of the 1980s. Tonight's film is Max Headroom, 20 minutes into the future. This anti-television television movie was written by Steve Roberts, based on the character created by George Stone and the film's co-directors Rocky Morton and Annabelle Jankel. It was envisioned as a series of 5-minute shorts to be shown between music videos on Channel 4's answer to MTV, bearing in mind that Channel 4 is a UK public access television channel that started in the 1980s. At the time, it was young, full of ideas, and very anti-establishment. This British MTV was to be presented by Max Headroom. Max Headroom was inspired by the phony American television presenters and their nice guy personas. It was taken to its logical conclusion with Max, who had a mid-Atlantic accent, slicked back blonde hair, a black suit, wayfarers, and of course, a habit for glitching. Not to mention, of course, he was literally only head and shoulders. The film tells the story of Max Headroom. In a near-future English America, or American England, it's never quite made clear, the dystopian landscape is ruled over by television conglomerates who decide what the public know and what they don't know. At the time, Rupert Murdoch's media empire and CNN were both in their infancy. Fox News wouldn't arrive until a decade later, but through the keen lens of satire, shock journalism was predicted with disturbing accuracy, and this film really is incredibly sharp and far more relevant now than it was in 1985. The film embraces its small screen home. Opening with a screen of static, a sense of claustrophobia is immediately established, with sets that are cold, dark and cramped, and camera shots which are usually in close-up and only ever get closer. The film's cinematography was provided by Phil Mayhew, who makes the film well worth watching and is very much deserving of praise. His talents were later rewarded with a BAFTA in 2006 for his work on Casino Royale, the first Daniel Craig Bond film, and a personal favourite. The plot, which is a little padded, follows investigative journalist Edison Carter, who is investigating his own employer's Network 23. The network are determined to keep viewing figures up, so they use their child genius scientific officer, played perfectly with clipped English tones by Paul Ferrier, to come up with a new way of advertising. This new way of advertising is referred to as blipverts, and it does have one rather dramatic side effect. It can cause people who are watching to spontaneously combust. When Edison finds out the truth, he tries to expose it and escape from Network 23 with the help of his colleague, Theora Jones, played brilliantly by Amanda Pays. But is it too little, too late? It isn't a film that hides its political leanings, and it is a political film. However, rather than lacking subtlety, it leans into the same razor-sharp wit and satire of the British comic book 2000 AD, which is the home of Judge Dredd, Judge, Jury, and Executioner. If you like political satire, science fiction, and bloody violence, then check out 2012's Dredd, which starred Carl Urban. Max Headroom's special effects and set design are very much worth praising, especially the wireframe neon graphics used throughout the film, which bring to mind other pioneers of cyberpunk like Blade Runner and Tron, as well as a hint of Terry Gillingham's Brazil. The score of the film is used throughout sparingly, but with great precision, raising the tension at exact moments, especially during the tower block chase scene, with 80 synthesizers edited perfectly through the chase like a music video. For the second time in this series, an English new wave band provide the score, this time Midgear's Ultravox, who are behind some of the best tunes of the 1980s, including Vienna and Dancing with Tears in My Eyes. The film's star and namesake, Max Headroom, appears only briefly in the film, not portrayed by computer graphics as advertised, but instead by Matt Frewer at his sharpest in stunning prosthetics. Max gets the best lines, some genuinely laugh out loud one-liners, and by the end of the film's 57 minutes, you're left wanting to see more of Max, which is exactly what the film was supposed to do. 3 days after the film's broadcast, Channel 4 premiered the Max Headroom show, and it doubled the viewing figures for the burgeoning channel in that time slot.
Max! What I want to know is, why are the only funny lines on this show the ones behind me?
Max Headroom has long since superseded the film that gave him his start. He went on to become the face of New Coke and had his own talk show in America. Not to mention, of course, he was subject to a television hacking when 2 public access channels in Chicago were pushed off air during the sports news and a rare screening of classic Doctor Who, respectively, by a man wearing a Max Headroom mask. Life imitating art? You tell me. Younger audiences may also be aware of the character thanks to his cameo in the 2015 film Pixels, which starred Adam Sandler, and is probably not worth mentioning beyond that. So sit back, grab your Wayfarers, and get your new Coke down you. This is Max Headroom, 20 minutes into the future.